You are standing on a wooden pier above black water. The sky above the lagoon hasn't decided whether it's night or morning. Salt and rot fill your lungs. Your feet are bare on planks that flex with the tide. Somewhere behind you, a bell strikes once. It doesn't echo, it gets swallowed by fog. A man next to you coughs, spits into the water, and picks up a crate without speaking. Everyone here moves in silence. Everyone here already knows. The year is 1000. Venice is not yet a legend. It is a machine, noisy, wet, ruthless, and alive. Every piece of timber, every coin, every prayer is part of a calculation this city makes before the rest of Europe wakes up. You don't live in Venice. You survive it. And right now, survival means moving fast before the tide shifts, before the merchants seal their gates, before the Doge's guards decide your face doesn't belong here. This is not a city built for beauty. It was built because there was nowhere else left to run. And somehow, impossibly, it became the most powerful place on the planet. What does it actually feel like to wake up inside an empire that doesn't know it's an empire yet? In the year 1000, Venice is 50,000 people crammed onto mud islands, trading with Byzantium and the Arab world, while the rest of Europe is still burning in its own chaos. This is the day we go back. Not as tourists, not with maps, but as someone who has to eat, work, breathe, and bleed inside it. Every chapter brings you closer to the raw texture of this city. The smells, the politics, the violence, the faith, the hunger. If this kind of immersive history wakes something up in you, subscribe, hit like, and tell me in the comments, which civilization do you want to walk through next? You don't wake up, you surface. Sleep in Venice in the year 1000 is something between rest and waiting, straw on planks, two other bodies next to you for warmth, the perpetual push and pull of water underneath everything. The first sound before your eyes open is oars. Long, rhythmic, close. A fishing boat already moving through the channel. The second sound is fire. Someone on the floor below is feeding a hearth. There is no glass in the window. Cold air comes in off the lagoon and settles on your chest like a wet cloth. You sit up. Outside, the sky is deep purple over the water. Gondolas, they don't look like what you imagined. Flat-bottomed working vessels, not romantic curves, cut through morning mist, carrying barrels of salted fish from the outer islands. The city doesn't have streets. It has channels, bridges, and narrow passages between walls that lean into each other overhead. You move through it like moving through a body. Everything is connected. Nothing is straight. By the time the sun clears the horizon, 300 boats are already in motion. Venice does not wait for daylight. Venice is already counting. You pull on coarse wool, splash brackish water on your face from a clay pot, and step outside onto a wooden walkway suspended above a minor canal. You breathe in salt, smoke, and the particular mineral sharpness of a city that is always at its foundations, sinking and choosing to remain anyway. The Rialto in year 1000 is not a bridge yet. It is a bank of mud and timber at the deepest navigable point of the Grand Canal, and it is absolutely roaring. By mid-morning, the crowd here is dense enough that you move sideways, not forward. Merchants from Alexandria, traders from Amalfi, men speaking Arabic, Greek, Lombard, and at least two dialects you cannot place. Venice is not Italian in any way that would make sense to the rest of Italy. Venice is the gap between worlds. A stall sells pepper, black pepper, at a price that would buy 2 chickens. People pay without hesitating. You understand suddenly that spices here are currency dressed as food. Bolts of Byzantine silk catch the low sun. The merchant touching them does so with 2 fingers only, not reverence precision. He is checking for flaws that would drop the price. He finds one. He doesn't smile. He offers half. A deal is reached in gestures before a single coin appears. This is what Constantinople taught Venice. That commerce is a language older than any spoken one. To your left, 2 men are arguing over a consignment of Dalmatian timber. Their voices rise and cut off with surgical speed. Volume here is tactical, not emotional. You watch their hands more than their mouths. A woman passes carrying smoked eels on a flatboard balanced on her head. She navigates the crowd without slowing. without looking down. Her face is blank with absolute focus. You buy a piece of flatbread from a boy at the canal's edge. It is dense, slightly sour, still warm. You eat it standing, watching a Byzantine merchant count Byzantine gold numismata into a Venetian hand. The transaction takes 11 seconds. It has been refined over generations to take 11 seconds. You are watching the prototype of the modern global economy, dressed in wool and salt and morning mist, operating without paper, without banks, and without a single wasted movement. You cannot be in Venice in the year 1000 without understanding the weight of Pietro II Orseolo. The Doge is not a king. He is something more claustrophobic, a man elected by the city's most powerful families to serve, to decide, and to be watched every second he does so. By midday, a crowd has gathered near the Doge's palace. Timber and Byzantine stone, not the marble fantasy that will come later. Word has moved through the city the way water moves, instantly, without tracing its own path. A Dalmatian delegation has arrived. Pirates from the Croatian coast have been raiding Venetian merchant ships, and Pietro Orseolo has spent 2 years preparing a response. Today, the answer is becoming visible in the harbor. You push to the edge of the crowd. 60 war galleys sit in the basin, long, low, oar-driven, each one carrying soldiers in leather armor. This is not a patrol. This is an annexation dressed as a rescue mission. The people around you are quiet in the specific way people are quiet when they understand consequences. Merchants understand this fleet means safer routes. Sailors understand this fleet means dead friends. The city holds both truths without contradiction. A priest near you prays audibly. His Latin is fast and almost mechanical, the prayer of someone who has given God his message and is already moving on. Venice's relationship with God is efficient. The church here does not ask you to abandon the world. It asks you to baptize your transactions and keep moving. Even faith is optimized. You see no cheering, no flags waving. Just the hard, collective gaze of a population watching power calculate its next move and calculating their own position inside that move at the same time. The Doge appears briefly on a timber balcony. He is older than you expected, with the careful stillness of someone who learned long ago that displaying certainty is more useful than feeling it. He looks at the fleet, then at the crowd, then at something between them, the invisible arithmetic of what this city is becoming, and turns back inside without speaking. Away from the harbor, Venice operates on a different register. The afternoon belongs to the artisans, and to the debts that keep them working. In a narrow passage near what will one day be called San Polo, a glassworker sits outside his workshop grinding a rod of colored glass into a tool. The glass came from Syria. The technique came from Byzantium. The result will go to a Flemish merchant by winter. The man himself has never left the lagoon. You stop. He doesn't look up. Around him, the ground is covered in glass dust that catches light like spilled water. His hands are scarred in the specific geometric patterns of someone who has cut himself in the same 3 places, so many times the wounds no longer fully close. Venice's craft economy in year 1000 runs on informal debt. You borrow material from a merchant, produce goods, sell them through the merchant's network, and receive what remains after his cut. You never fully own your tools. You never fully own your output. This is not slavery. It is something more durable. A system where the worker has just enough independence to feel free and just enough obligation to stay productive. Venice perfected this before economics had words for it. Nearby, a rope maker works in a long, low building open on both ends so the twisted fibers can be walked end to end. His apprentice, a girl, maybe 12, runs the far end of the rope, walking backward as the hemp tightens. She does this for hours without stopping. The ropes will rig the war galleys you saw this morning. The glasswork will fund a merchant who will fund the next fleet. Nothing in Venice is decorative. Everything is structural, even when it is beautiful. You turn a corner and almost walk into a dispute between a tanner and a canal worker over a barrel of water that has contaminated a tanning pit. Their argument is technical, specific, and ancient. This exact argument has been happening on this exact corner for 40 years. Neither of them will win. A third man, neither tanner nor canal worker, will eventually be paid a small coin to decide in favor of whoever fed him last. Justice in Venice is practical, always practical. The sun drops behind the taller buildings. Shadows fill the canals first, then the alleys. The city shifts from its commerce face to something older, narrower, more careful about who it shows itself to. Night in year 1000 Venice is not darkness. It is a different kind of visibility. Oil lamps burn at the intersections of major paths. They are not for safety, they are for watching. Venice at night is a city that wants to know where you are going. The taverns open fully after dark. In the day they serve working men quickly. At night they serve the same men slowly, and they serve the other kind of men, the brokers, the intermediaries, the people whose business requires no witnesses and no documentation. Information is the real product being sold here. You sit at a long table with 7 others. No one introduces themselves. That's the etiquette. You drink a coarse wine from Istria that tastes of iron and earth. A man across from you is reading a document in the lamplight. Not reading, actually. Memorizing. His eyes move over it in horizontal lines that never hesitate or reread. He finishes, folds it, tucks it inside his shirt, and begins eating. 2 men at the end of the table are making a deal in whispered Byzantine Greek. You understand perhaps 1 word in 4. The word you understand most often is ship, then gold, then a name, the Doges, then silence while one of them eats. Outside, a night watchman walks the main canal path with a torch and a club. He is not there to stop crime. Crime in Venice is too complex for clubs. He is there to remind the city that someone is recording. Later, you don't know how much later, you walk back toward the pier where this morning began. The fog has returned. The lamps make halos in the mist. A cat crosses in front of you with something in its mouth and disappears into a wall crack with the total confidence of a creature that has mapped this city at ground level for generations. Somewhere on the water, a single oarsman is still moving. You can hear the dip and pull of the oar but see nothing. He is moving cargo or information or a person. The 3 things Venice never stops transporting, not even when the rest of the world is sleeping. You stop at the pier's edge. The lagoon is black and perfectly still now, the kind of still that only happens after the last boat has passed and before the first one starts. You stand in that exact interval, between what Venice was today and what it's already becoming tomorrow. 1,000 years from now, people will call this place a miracle. Standing here now, with salt on your skin and the cold working into your knees, you understand it differently. It was never a miracle. It was a decision made over and over again by people who refused to accept that water meant limit. You just spent 1 day inside the machine that became the blueprint for Western commerce, urban power, and strategic empire building. Not the Venice of carnival masks and gondola rides, the real one, raw timber, salt-cracked hands, and a population that understood the future before the future had a name. What strikes hardest isn't the wealth or the strategy. It's the relentlessness. The way every single person in this city, from the 9-year-old on the canal to the Doge on his balcony, is doing the same calculation. How do I hold my position in a place that is always, physically, trying to pull me under? This is what history feels like when you stop reading about it and start standing inside it. Same question, different water. Subscribe, because the next civilization is already waiting.